that directly hampered the operation of these companies that were classified as SOEs was that there were no, except in the cases of the special spin-offs, which was regarded 24 SOEs only, there were no conditions in place for the sale. Not only no conditions in place for the sale, but there were no regulatory mechanisms, no legal framework with monitoring, or no way at all to make sure that these companies that were sold, that they were sold in a way that could benefit Kosovo's economy. So I think that is another way that privatization directly did not help the economic development of these companies. The only mechanism that was in place was that this you all heard about, this 20% to the workers, which I'm also discussing in the report, which is a very low number compared to very many other cases of privatization. It's a very low number compared to, for example, the rest of former Yugoslavia. It's a very low share. It is also 20% that goes to private individuals, so it's not something that goes to Kosovo's economy, it goes to private individuals. So I mean, it's also sort of a way to privatize the value of the company, to give 20% of that company to private individuals. And besides, very few of these 20% would actually reach the workers. So I mean, that is another way through which this process does not seem to have benefited the economy. So I think that these are some of the issues that this report mentioned that I think are relevant to the issues that were raised here. I can take a few more comments, questions.
First of all, very, very interesting. I want to thank you for coming and speaking to us today. Okay.
Could you perhaps say who you are?
I'm Jim Myers, and Chris lets me come here about once a year to teach. It was very interesting. I wonder if you could comment on whether you see the work that you've done, the research that you've done, as a critique of privatization more generally, or whether it is more specifically kind of a, and as you were speaking particularly about the relationship of the international actors with the citizens of Kosovo and the responsibility that they had, as kind of a special case of moral hazard. That in fact this is a principal agent problem that maybe you could generalize more broadly to international involvement of the international community at other places, and not just with respect to privatization, but in other areas where the international community is intervening in domestic decision-making with resource allocation implications.
One more.
My name is Visario Meri, and I come from the Visa Agency. I just want to make a very quick comment and then a question afterwards. The comment is about whether privatization has been driven by ideology or pragmatism in a way. And I think that what Ahmed, the Minister of Finance, said the other day at the Assembly when they were discussing the privatization of PTK is very indicative. And obviously I'm paraphrasing him here, but he said something like, in the Assembly, I'm finding myself between my beliefs and the populism of some of the members of the Parliament. And obviously I'm going to be driven by my beliefs. So he never, in this instance, he never said that the privatization of PTK is something good for the economy of Kosovo, but that he believes it is good. So this is, I think, this shows that the privatization mentality that has been extended from KTA, where Ahmed Saleh was obviously the director, has been very much driven by ideology, or at least to my understanding. Because when I read the report, something that really struck me was the way I understood it, this total disregard that the people at KTA and army officials had, not just towards the needs of Kosovo's economy, but towards the needs of Kosovo's society overall. So I want to ask you, Rita, from your research and the report, would you say that at least the officials spent 10% of the time, if I'm allowed to vulgarize here, to think about the interest of the society and the people. Because I think that this is a very important report, not just because it shows the way privatization has been conducted in Kosovo, but also this is a report that is a very good step into writing some sort of a history of unmixed governance over Kosovo. And I think this is very important because some of the consequences of their decisions have the potential to outlive us all. And I think that this sort of a history, a political history of unmixed governance has to be written from a critical point of view. I think that this is a very good step towards that. Thank you.
Okay. First to Jim Myers. If you read the report, it is not a criticism of privatization in general. This is not how it is written, this report. What it says is that this is a decision that is political, that it is a decision that should be evaluated from context to context, and that it is a decision that, in cases of state building, is predetermined. And I indicated in the case of the Kosovo, it is reasons to question whether it was the right decision at all. I think it was not. And it is also reasons to question the way it was carried out. Exactly for reasons that you mentioned. The level of involvement of local actors in the process, and this is also very much how I frame the discussion in the report, as I see this as an example of international state building. I see this process, the international leadership of privatization in Kosovo, as an example of how international state building operates. Because it is very concerned with implementing preset types of reform in a way that shies away from accountability. So state building operates with governmental powers, but it is not interested in taking the responsibility that follows with the exercise of these powers. So this is very much how I see this as an example of. So I think that. But what I do think is that privatization is something that should be discussed at its fundamentals. It is something that should be subjected to a general critique because it is one of many options. And I think that it was never discussed at that level in Kosovo, and I think that it should be. And I think that it should have been in '99, and I think that it should be today. Because it is not, to say that there are no alternatives to privatization, it's a very political statement, and it shows a very clear political affiliation, and it's one political opinion among many, and it is something that really should be subjected to general critique. So this is my main point on this issue in my report. So I think that the question of whether international officials spend 10% thinking about the needs of the society and people, I think it's a question of how you define needs and how you also define society and people.